great family here from Blues Guitar Unleashed. Welcome. Thanks for joining me in this video. In this video, and a couple of more videos probably to go with this, we're going to talk about kind of stepping up your blues soloing a little bit by following the chords better. But that's going to require a couple of things, and I sort of have to explain a couple of things first, and then we can really kind of get into the meat and potatoes of it. But the first thing is, we want to talk about what I mean when I talk about playing major blues licks, okay? So we're going to talk about major blues licks as opposed to minor blues licks. Now, you might already be familiar with, we have the minor blues scale. In this case, I'm in A, right? And I have the 5 boxes, etc., etc., etc. For the major blues sound, I also have the 5 boxes, but we just look at them a little bit differently. So when I talk about using major blues licks, what I'm going to talk about is licks that come out fundamentally of that major blues scale. It gets a little bit trickier is the thing. And in this video also I'm going to talk about why you want to use the major instead of the minor blues sound over any chord but one. And this is a question that I get a lot. Like, if I can use the A minor blues scale over the A7 chord, the 1 chord, why can't I use the D minor 7 over the D minor over the D7 chord? And I'll show you that. It's a little bit tricky. I kind of have to show you. And this goes to something that I call levels of sophistication, right? If you solo over a blues, you know that you can use the 1 minor blues scale. Okay, so when we talk about the 1, right, it's the A. You can use that 1 minor blues scale over all 3 chords, the 1, 4, and the 5. Okay. If you want to get a little bit more sophisticated with it, we start to incorporate the 1 major blues sound over the 1 chord. Okay, that's what I call the second level, level 2. If you're familiar with Blues Guitar Unleashed, it's about the last third of the course is starting to incorporate that sound. It's a very common, very popular thing to do. You don't have to do it, but it sounds really great. You can take that one level further and you can start treating every chord as if it's 1. Okay, meaning over the A7 you have the 1, right? The 1, the A7, you have your A major and A minor blues options, right? Over the 4 chord, you have the 4 major blues scale, and you can also pull in the 4 minor blues scale. What you can't do is use the 4 minor by itself without the 4 major. And again, I'll show you that doesn't sound very good. And over the 5 chord, you can use the 5 major scale or the 5 minor scale, okay? And so real quick, let me just kind of show you what I mean by that. If I have like, right, if I have an A7 chord, and what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna put this in my looper to make it easy for you to hear. I'll give myself a couple of bars of A7, then I'll go to the D7. Okay, so here I can play A minor blues. But when I go to the D, that doesn't sound, I don't want to say that sounds wrong, okay? But it tweaks your ear just a little bit. And if it's a sound that you dig, you can absolutely do that. But let me show you a very subtle difference. Here's the A minor. Now here's D major. That to me is an awful lot more pleasing to my ear. Now, of course, I could just continue to play the A minor blues scale over that sound. And that's, again, level 1 soloing. And it sounds great. And no matter what else you do, I think you should do that a lot. Because it's a great sound. It's that classic blues sound. But here's the thing. When we get off of the 1 chord, we lose the tonic, what's called the tonic in theory terms. So when we go to like the 4 chord, if we use the 4 minor, we no longer have the benefit of that being our main root home base chord. I've transcribed, probably thousands and thousands of measures of blues music in my lifetime, solos. Freddie King, Albert King, B.B. King, Eric Clapton, Johnny Winter, Walter Trout, Joe Bonamassa, you name it, I've probably transcribed at least 3 or 4 of their solos. Not once in all of that have I ever seen somebody play strictly the 4 minor blues scale over the 4 chord. Okay, so I don't want to get too hung up on this right now, but I just want to tell you that's not a thing. And so at least I've never seen it. So I don't do it. That's my litmus test. I don't like the sound of it, first of all, but second of all, never seen any of my heroes do it, so I don't think it's a good thing to do. However, if I use the 4 major sound over the 4 chord, it sounds really, really good. But here's the tricky part of this. While we usually use the minor blues scale by itself, like if I'm playing an A, right, I can play the A minor blues scale all day long and not really pull in any of the major sound, and we're good. If I was to play over that A7 chord, just the major blues sound, it actually doesn't sound awesome. It lacks a little bit. We often pull 1 or 2 notes out of the minor blues sound as well. In pretty much every, I'll say, major blues lick I've ever played, not all of them, but most of them, there's at least 1 or 2 notes from the minor blues sound as well. And I think a lot of that comes from the fact that an A7 chord has a flatted 7th in it. And there is no flatted 7th in the major blues sound, but there is one in the minor blues sound. Okay, so that's one note that tends to get pulled in a lot. Another one is the 4, because you can play the 4 and then the flatted 3rd, which is, of course, either you can look at that as the blue note of the major blues scale, or you can look at it as the minor blues scale. But with that 4 to flat 3 to 3 move, that enclosing move, is a great melody. Okay, so both of those are very common notes that we kind of bring in, because the minor blues scale doesn't have a major 3rd, but it's got the root and the 5th and the flatted 7th. The major blues scale has the root and the 5th and the major 3rd, but doesn't have the flat 7th. So neither one of them is a perfect fit. Okay, that's a lot of theory. That's a lot of mumbo jumbo. It's often easier to just memorize these licks and play them. Okay, yes, I believe you should know what's going on, and I think it's important to have an understanding of why we're choosing the notes that we're choosing. But at the end of the day, you have to be able to play this. Okay, you can't just think about it and go, oh yeah, that would be cool, I could do that. That won't work. You have to have this memorized. You have to have it under your fingers. You have to be able to play it. So let's look at a lick. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so there's a lot of elements that are either in both sounds, okay? Because first of all, both of these sounds do share a lot of notes. They share a root, they share a 5th, okay? So right away, playing the root and the 5th right off the bat is gonna get both of the sounds. When I play the 7th fret on the 3rd and the 2nd string, I'm getting the 6 from the major sound, and I'm getting the 4 from the minor sound. When I do this little hammer-on move, so I'm barring across the 5th fret on the 2nd and 3rd strings, and then immediately hammering on my middle finger to get the major 3rd. So I'm definitely pulling from the minor sound at this point, down to the root. 1 and 2 and Okay, now I'm gonna count all this out. I'm gonna make a big deal about the count. I'm not gonna get on my soapbox. Hopefully you've heard it before. Please, 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 please count out loud. Do what I do, say what I say. You'll be able to play this. 1 and 2 and 3. Again, I'm going back to that major 3rd. And I'm hitting the 5s across the top, right? So again, I'm basically just outlining the chord at this point, but you could definitely say I'm pulling all of these notes from the major blues sound. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and Now that is a move. I'm bending the 7th fret on the 3rd string, the 4th of the scale, bending it up a full step, then grabbing the 5th, which is the 5th of the scale, 5th fret on the 2nd string, and rolling over to the 5th fret on the 1st string, the root. 4 and da. And that is a very minor blues move. And then I'm going to do, on beat 1, I'm going to do that 8th fret bend. I can do it with my pinky or I can do it with my 3rd finger. Again, that's very much a minor blues scale move. So I've kind of done a little bit of major, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and that right there, the flatted 7 to the 5th to the 4, again, these are all right out of the minor blues sound, but I'm going to end it with that major 3rd. And again, I'm going to bluesify that 3rd, meaning I'm going to use the flat 3rd hammer on to the major 3rd. That's out of box 2, the major blues sound. So now I'm ending it. So I've started it and ended it with very major parts, but stuck some minor stuff in the middle so that it has a little bit more bluesy feel. Okay, so 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Again, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3. Okay, one more time. 1, 2, 3, 4 and 1 and 2. Okay, so that is what I would consider a major blues lick. I have a bunch of these. I have a course called 50 Major Slow Blues Licks by the Box. And obviously, I would say this one is centered around box 2, sorry. But of course, when it switches to the minor sound, that's going to be box 1 because that's where the minor blues sound sits right there. And this is the thing about the, incorporating the major blues sound that often confuses a lot of people. And so at the end of the day, again, it's sometimes just better to just memorize licks. Just learn this and play it and use it, and you know kind of where it is. Like in your head, like at some point, because I told you, right? That's box 2, that's box 1. But while I'm playing it, I'm not thinking, oh, this is box 2, oh, this is box 1. I'm just playing that lick. As I'm playing my solo and it comes time to play that, I just think I'm going to use that lick and I play that lick. Okay, and that's how it has to be in order to be able to improvise. If you have to go through all these mental gymnastics of, oh, I got to do this is the major and this is the minor, no, it really doesn't work that way. That would be like trying to think of how to build a sentence while you were saying the sentence. It doesn't work that way, right? You learn phrases when you're little. You don't have to rebuild them later. We don't want to keep reinventing the wheel over and over. So get it memorized. Count it out loud right from the get-go. That counting out loud gives you a rhythmic framework. It really is helpful for memorization. I really hope you'll take advantage of that. Okay, now, the next thing about this, right, is I could play this over, let's say the 4 chord comes along. Okay, now I didn't write it out, but I can just move up to my D7 up here. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3. And truth be told, I don't really care where I put it. 1 and 2. Because my fingers will make this move no matter where I put it. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. And, you got to know I'm not looking. I can just sort of go, how about here? 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and... Well, that was A flat, okay? It doesn't matter. And I encourage you to get it down to the point that that's how you need to understand your licks. That's how you need to know your licks. You just play them. You close your eyes, pick a spot, play the lick. Your fingers don't care, really. Unless I get like way up here, a 1 and right? I might care a little bit because the frets are so close together, but really it doesn't make that much difference, and it shouldn't make any difference, right? So obviously if I want to play that same lick over the 4 chord, right? Here, I'll play it over this, I'll play it over my little track. 1, 2, 3, 4. I could use it over the 4 now. Right? And that works. That works because we're using more of the major. We're leaning heavily on that major blues sound and just pulling a little bit from the minor sound. If all I played was minor blues over that 4 chord, it just doesn't sound as good. Okay? So keep that in mind, because what I'm going to do, I'm going to go ahead and end this video now. I'm going to have another one for you probably tomorrow. I want to give you some time to get this lick down and get it under your fingers. But what I'm going to do is, in the next video, we'll look at how I could do the same thing over the 4 chord, meaning I can use a major blues lick over the 4 chord, but I'm going to choose it from a different region of the fretboard so that I'm not moving around so much. Something that's going to blend in much better. We'll do that in the next video. So for now, work on this lick, get it down. Again, count it out loud, please. It really, really, really does make a difference. You can do it at whatever tempo you want, right? You can play your little into your looper at whatever tempo you want. I will give you a slow blues jam track, the same one that I used as I played into this video. I'll leave it a download near this video somewhere. Depending on where you're seeing this, will depend on where you see it. But I will leave that download nearby. Hopefully you can find it, in case you need a slow blues jam track, but you probably don't. There's a lot of slow blues jam tracks out there. You probably have one. But if you want to use mine, I'll leave it nearby. I'll leave the tab. I'll leave all the stuff for you. So try it, work on it, and in the next video, I will, again, I'll show you a new lick that works around the 4 chord, and you'll see how we can really merge these two sounds together, and it sounds really, really hip, okay? So until then, I'm Griff Hamlin from Blues Guitar Unleashed. As always, if you have guitar playing friends that you think would dig this video, I hope you'll share it with them, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye.